This is Scandinavia's king of cargo, one of the fastest freight trains in all of Europe. Its mission? Beat the clock. Pick up and deliver fresh fish before it spoils. A dangerous journey through steep mountains and killer cliffs. Customers around the world are waiting.
Now.
And this train can't afford to be late, no matter what gets in its way. It's a truly epic trip that cuts through some of the most beautiful but unforgiving terrain on the planet. It's the North Rail Express. Oslo, Norway, one of Europe's fastest growing capitals. Rich from natural resources and famous for its fantastic fish. This looks great. What do we have here?
Fresh Atlantic cod.
The fish served in restaurants here in Oslo are caught north of the Arctic Circle, and they arrive here still fresh in less than 2 days. How does that happen? This incredible freight train is what makes it possible. The North Rail Express. Electric-powered, super efficient, in action 6 days a week, every week of the year.
All these fish have come from the north with our famous North Rail Express.
The train's unique high-tech refrigeration trailers are temperature controlled, with individual thermostats that keep their cargo in perfect shape. The North Rail Express is the kingpin in a hugely successful transport chain that begins way north of Oslo, above the Arctic Circle, with the fishermen.
We are depending on the North Rail Express to bring these fish on the markets.
Whatever the crew catches is delivered to the local packing plant.
So when the boat comes in, the fish goes directly here to this line.
Then the fish are trucked more than 200 kilometers down the coast. From the packing plant in Møre to the train station in Narvik. That's where the North Rail Express takes over. It transports the fish on an epic 2,000-kilometer journey through treacherous mountains via Sweden and onto Oslo, where workers hustle to offload and distribute the precious cargo around the world.
It's so important for us that the train arrive here on time every morning. That's a competition every day to be on time.
It's a competition Jan Austerheim has to win.
What's the problem?
His bosses at DB Schenker pay him to make sure the Arctic fish arrives in Oslo less than 48 hours after being pulled from the sea.
This can be the train. Yeah. So it's really fresh. Okay.
Yeah, it's very fresh.
Yeah.
The fresher the fish, the more they're worth.
We must work fast to get it out in time.
If we are 1 day delayed, the price for the fish go down with about 10% per day.
It's a little bit stressed.
If the train arrives late in Oslo, it can set off a disastrous chain reaction. The fish is scheduled to be on a specific plane, ship, or ferry within hours. Miss those scheduled departures, and it's a big problem for Jan and his team.
It's so important to be in the market in Europe next morning. If we are delayed, the buyers buy fish from other companies, and then we have lost it.
It's not just about getting the fish out to the world. It's also about turning that train around and making sure it's in perfect running order to keep the supply chain moving. There's a lot to be done before it can head back north for more fish.
We have to de-ice the train to make sure that we won't have any brake failure. And then we have to check the brakes. We have to do the security check to see that nothing sticks out. And then it's off.
The wagons that carry the refrigeration trailers are the backbone of this train. During their journey from the Arctic, they get caked with snow and ice that can jam up the braking system. So the undercarriages are blasted with a glycol and water mix, a process that can only happen here in the south of Norway, because at the other end of the line, it's so cold, even de-icing machinery freezes up. This skeletal framework will soon start looking like a real train when they begin loading the trailers. But first, the wagons need a thorough inspection.
These need to change.
The brakes get extra special attention. They look for problems caused by snow and ice and check for wear and tear that happens during those extreme mountain descents.
When these get too thin, it breaks in the middle, and that's not good.
He's talking about the brake block, much like a brake pad in a car. He removes the damaged part and installs a new one. While this team races to turn the train around, the fishermen up north in Møre are on a special mission.
Now we are heading for the skrei banks. We try to catch some skrei.
This is the season for skrei, a highly prized variety of Arctic cod, in great demand as far away as Asia and North America.
The price of the fish is depending on getting it quickly to these markets.
But the season is short, just 2 winter months every year. That's when millions of skrei return from the Barents Sea, the spawning grounds on the Norwegian coast.
It's a very lot of cod, small spaces, so we get these big catches.
The long-line fishing boat reaches the spawning grounds at sunup.
Oh, we are looking for skrei between 4 and 8 kilos. It's the most paid fish in the market.
Only full-grown fish are allowed to be caught from small boats like this one, using baited hooks on a long line.
Nice, good food. We have to bring it to the factory as soon as possible to get it loaded on the train so they can bring it on the market as quickly as possible.
Captain Remy's not talking about any old train. The North Rail Express is pulled by powerful electric locomotives. Each Swedish RC4 puts out about 5,000 horsepower, with a top speed of 135 kilometers an hour. These high-tech refrigerated trailers are known as swap bodies, designed to be pulled by a truck and then lifted directly onto flat wagons. The front legs fold up and the wheels fit snugly into wells on the wagon. Each trailer has its own thermostat and enough fuel to allow it to operate independently of the locomotive. Before departure, they need to be washed down and decontaminated from the last fish run. Then they're sent to be refueled. In the control center, Olka Svensson keeps his eye on all the trailers, in the yard and on the rails.
If the refrigerator stops, the goods will be destroyed. We monitor the systems, the computer systems, with the GPS positions. It's minute by minute, and we can tell the temperature, speed, position. I see an alarm.
The sensitive monitoring system has detected a problem on one of the trailers that will head north tonight.
Trying to remote reboot the refrigerator and see if the problem will disappear of itself.
But it won't reboot, so a technician has to check it out.
It's alarm 20. It means that the engine is not starting up, it's just cranking. It could be a diesel problem or electric problem.
When the train is traveling at speed, a remote reboot using wireless technology is always the first step.
I have to fix it fast.
If that doesn't work, the faulty trailer is dropped off en route, repaired, and the next train picks it up.
This is the fuel solenoid. This one should pull back and open for the fuel. but it's not.
But this trailer can be fixed on site.
This should do it.
Time to turn those truck trailers into a train. 24 of them will be loaded onto wagons for tonight's journey north. During this phase of the operation, it's critical to make sure the trailer's support feet are completely folded up.
I'm just oiling up the support feet before putting it on the train. Because if the feet sticks out, the ground will grab them and rip them off.
Everything has to be tucked in just right for the trailer to fit in its special trough.
This is a kingpin plate, and the kingpin is under the cargo, so it has to fit in the hole to lock it.
Each trailer is matched to a specific wagon, then lifted before it's lowered into position. At the other end of the train, Christer Utnes, the head of the loading crew, is having trouble with the very last trailer.
Yeah, we have bad time and like 15 minutes left before leaving, so quite short on time.
The trailer is not locking down properly, and the train is supposed to leave in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
It's so important to be on time when you start the trip from the terminal. 5 minutes delay from the terminal, it can be 2 or 3 hours delay at the end.
If the North Rail Express misses its scheduled departure time, it can't pass other trains on the single track. It will have to pull over onto a siding and let others by.
It's heavy traffic on this line. We are driving up to the north and down again. There is only one track.
The train can't leave until everything is secure. And a delay is bad for the fish and bad for business. Minutes before the North Rail Express is scheduled to depart Oslo for its journey north, one of the trailers isn't fitting into position on top of its wagon.
Hurry up.
The lockdown mechanism on the wagon is supposed to lie flat.
That cannot be in upright position when we have the trailers on, so we have to put it down again.
When the part is upright, it prevents the trailer from locking in. Christer has to get underneath the trailer to adjust the misaligned part. Now the trailer and wagon connect.
That was the last unit and we made it. And it's 10 minutes to departure. So, well done today.
The North Rail Express pulls out of Oslo's Alnabru station at 9:30 p.m. It's not leaving empty. Whenever this train heads north, it's always filled with supplies for remote Arctic communities. Medicine, fresh produce, even new cars. It's a 27-hour journey. Crossing a big chunk of Sweden overnight, then traveling north to Kiruna, into the mountains, and the final treacherous section to Narvik. Hey guys!
Hey!
How you doing?
Hi guys! We're fine!
I've traveled ahead to have a look at that stretch of track in daylight, hitching a ride on the maintenance train.
Oh, be careful with the steps.
Okay.
Maybe they can be a little bit slippery.
This is great.
Come on board.
Thank you. The landscape up here is beautiful, but unforgiving. Look at that. It's incredible. Going up pretty high into the mountains.
Yeah, for every 10 kilometers, we go up 120 meters.
The track climbs high above the fjords, clinging to the mountainsides. And where it's too precarious, there are tunnels. How difficult was this to build back in the 1800s?
It was very difficult because they have to use hand methods to build it.
Right.
So it's about 20 tunnels, and 18 of them is hand drilling.
So what's this we're going under? Because it's not a full tunnel.
This is a snow shed. We have a lot of problems with snow in the winter here.
Snow sheds protect the tracks and trains from falling rock and snow. So the railroad doesn't have to be shut down for track clearing after every avalanche. So avalanches?
Avalanches and also snow that's blowing in the wind and stopping the track.
How common are avalanches here?
It's about 5 to 10 avalanches every year.
Every year?
Yeah.
The northbound train is approaching the halfway point in its 27-hour journey. At this time of day, Captain Remy and his crew are delivering their catch to the packing plant up on the Arctic coast.
The catch is quite good. We have 1 ton of excellent scray.
This is peak season. We are in the middle of scray fishing. The turnover for our factory is around $75 million a year. 80% of this is done now in the winter season.
Trina is in charge of the packing plant. Her top priority, making sure everyone meets deadlines.
Spray packing will start right away. They finish in the...
On the elevator?
In the other side, yes.
Okay, because
right away.
It's a critical point to reach the North Rail Express every day on time. Well, if we miss the cutoff, we take the risk then that the customer will say, no, we don't want this fish. Or we can take it, but it's late, so we want a cheaper price.
It has to be cleaned and packed on ice within 12 hours of being caught. Even the local kids get in on the action, doing what their ancestors did, cutting out cod tongues, a delicacy in many parts of the world.
I love doing this. Kids can make good money by doing this.
If they work fast, they can make up to $5,000 every season. But only if the cod tongues and the rest of the fish get to Narvik and the North Rail Express in time. Back on the maintenance train, I'm learning how this great mountain railroad began, and it had nothing to do with fish.
This is a part of the iron ore line to Kiruna. It's 169 kilometers from Narvik station to Kiruna.
Every day, about 15 trains loaded with iron ore travel this treacherous route from Kiruna to Narvik. That adds up to 76,000 tons of ore a year.
And it's a heavy traffic from the iron ore trains. So we do a lot of maintenance on this line.
The line was built between 1898 and 1902, so steam trains could haul the heavy cargo over the mountains and down to the coast at Narvik. But importing coal for steam was expensive, so the region's huge water supply was put to use to electrify the track. Workers erected steel masts along the track and installed almost 200 kilometers of overhead wires between Narvik and Kiruna, creating the catenary that powers the trains. 100 years later, there are so many mining tunnels running underneath Kiruna that the town is in danger of caving in on itself. So people here are taking extreme measures to make sure the town survives. One of the first projects the town undertook was moving the rail line. And over the next 20 years, they'll be moving the entire town, a couple of miles that way. This town and Sweden's iron ore industry depend on the railroad. And so does Norway's Arctic fishery. The North Rail Express is still on schedule for its arrival in Narvik tonight.
10 ton.
Meanwhile, at the packing plant, Trina's still racing to get today's load of fish ready for transport.
This fish needs to go through the factory very fast, in boxes, on the truck, and reach the North Rail Express.
Skray earns top dollar because it's meatier and more compact than regular cod. Fishmongers and restaurateurs seek it out because their customers love it.
This is great quality. This is the great quality. You see, this is the best quality of the fish. It depends of the color of the skin, depends of the color of the meat.
Is the truck ready for Macedonia?
Yes.
Where? Is it finished? Missing something or all good?
Three pallets.
3 pallets missing.
Yeah, we need 3 pallets more.
The last truck should be on the road by now to reach the train on time. But it can't leave without the missing pallets.
But the time now is... Where is the driver? Where's the driver?
Oh, klart och färd?
Ja, men det manglar 3 pallar. Ja, he should have been gone for like maybe 20-25 minutes ago.
It's a 4-hour drive at the best of times.
They are coming.
They need to hurry. You know, we are not reaching the train now.
If they miss tonight's train, the value of today's catch will take a dive.
We need the last pallets like now because the truck needs to leave. Tell them to hurry, please. Now.
The North Rail Express is well into its journey, on its way to pick up a big load of fish on the Arctic coast. Meanwhile, up north, one of the trucks that's supposed to be hauling the fish to the train is running late.
They need to hurry, you know?
An important order from this morning's fish haul has gone missing. Trina and her crew have to find it and load it into the temperature-controlled transport trailer.
This is for an important customer in Barcelona. So we are waiting now for 3 more pallets to fill the truck. In this office? Yeah. Okay.
They finally locate the pallets among hundreds of others.
All good? So now we have to get it out of here so the driver can reach the train in Narvik.
The driver now has a hazardous, icy journey to the train station.
Because if we don't reach the North Rail Express, the fish will lose thousands of dollars in value.
We have under 4 hours to get to Narvik. It's always time pressure.
From the fishing plant, the loaded trucks have to navigate over 200 kilometers of winding highway carved into the rocky coastline before they reach the train in Narvik.
It's not easy to drive when it's snowing because suddenly everything gets white and you have to figure out where the road is.
Bad weather isn't the only hazard.
This time of year, we have to be very careful about the moose.
Wildlife on winter roads can be a showstopper.
Possibly I don't reach the train, and then they don't hold it for me, so then the fish is not going by train.
While Eskil keeps his eyes on the road ahead, the engineer for tonight's southbound train has started his shift in Narvik. Rickard will drive a pair of fresh locomotives and hook them up to the wagons arriving with the northbound train. He'll be responsible for that challenging stretch from here to Kiruna that I saw earlier from the maintenance train. But Rickard will be driving in the dark. So Rickard, where are we now?
We are in the locomotive stable, where we're de-icing the locomotives before departure.
Okay, so that they sit here and all the ice melts off?
Yeah.
And is this the actual locomotive that will be on the journey tonight?
Yes, this is.
This is like your office.
My office, the best.
On this journey from Narvik to Kiruna, what are the biggest challenges that you face as the engineer?
The biggest challenge is going from sea level up to the mountains. It's pretty hard. Need a lot of power.
So I'm sure you always hope that it's a smooth ride and that nothing goes wrong, but if something does go wrong, for instance with the electricity on the route up in the mountains, what do you do? I mean, how do you fix that in those conditions?
I have warm clothes, I have food, I have water with me.
Right.
Because I never know how long time it's going to take before I can retake my route. If you have avalanches and stuff like that, they can't get through. So we can be there for 10, 15 hours.
It's a tough day at the office.
Yeah, that's a tough day.
Yeah. Out on the road, Eskil and his truckload of fish have reached the outskirts of Narvik. Other trucks have already arrived at the rail yard. Their cargo trailers ready to be swapped with the ones on the incoming train. And here it comes, the northbound North Rail Express, arriving after an almost 2,000-kilometer journey from Oslo. It's filled with supplies for Narvik and the region here, and soon it'll be loaded up with fish and then head southbound, destined back again for Oslo. The train is scheduled to leave in less than an hour. It's disassembled quickly, and the supplies for remote Arctic communities offloaded. Including those new cars. Once the incoming cargo trailers have been lifted off, the snow that accumulated on the wagons during the 2,000-kilometer trip has to be removed. It's very important work that he's doing getting rid of that ice and snow. It's so the wheels of the truck containers can sit where they should in the wells. All right. Oh, it's really caked on. So if you don't get everything with the machine, you gotta get in and get your hands dirty, right?
Yeah, it's very important for safety reasons. We have to get the wheels all the way down.
So how are we looking? Is it all right?
I think we're good.
Yeah, thanks for showing me what you do. Once cleared, the wagons are matched up with the cargo trailers holding this morning's catch. Rickard is on the job. So not long until departure, a lot to do, right?
Yeah. Now it's a busy time.
He oversees the loading and inspects every wagon.
Have to check the brakes and that's everything. The wheels are okay, so it's safe to go over the mountains.
He also needs to make sure the 26 fish-filled trailers, weighing close to 1,000 tons, are locked down and ready to climb up and over the mountain range.
It's a dangerous route. It's a lot of things can happen. It can be ice and it can be really slippery, so we need the power to get up.
Time to roll out the locomotives. During high season, they often need 2 of these RC4s to haul the extra heavy loads of fish. Rickard hooks them up to the rest of the train. The southbound train is right on schedule for departure. And then...
Oh, what's happened? Oh, up in the mountains? Oh,
somewhere on Rickard's route, there's a power line down. This train runs on electricity, so it's not going anywhere. The North Rail Express has pulled off a quick turnaround. Its trailers locked and loaded with fresh fish for the long trip south. destined for customers around the world.
Hey, this is Rickard.
But Rickard, the locomotive engineer, has just found out the power is down.
Problems up in the mountains about one of the pillars that keep up the overhead line have been damaged. How long time will it take? Okay. If something gets damaged, the whole system fails.
A power failure on the electric rail line is trouble.
So we're going to be a few hours late, the departure. You make me a call when it's time to go? Ah, nice. Thank you.
The North Rail Express runs on an electrified rail system. The power is supplied by the overhead lines suspended above the tracks and fed to the locomotive through a rooftop collector called a pantograph. An electric locomotive is basically a massive mobile transformer. It turns the 15 kilovolt AC current from the overhead line into a lower voltage DC current that powers the 4 traction motors that drive the engine's wheels. But when there's no current to feed it, the locomotive is powerless. Rickard finds out that weather damage to the catenary line has caused the power failure in the mountains just outside Narvik.
It's a very difficult remote place to get to. We have no other way around, so we have to wait until they fix the problems.
Luckily, the insulated refrigeration trailers can keep the fish at a stable temperature because they have their own generators. Otherwise, in this minus 35-degree cold, the fish would freeze and their freshness would be compromised. Rickard waits 3.5 hours and finally gets the go-ahead.
Japp, det blir bra det. Tack så mycket. Hej.
But because the North Rail Express is leaving behind schedule, it's lost its privilege to pass other trains. Even before it's out of the rail yard, it has to pull over on a sideline to let others go ahead.
This is one of the Arctic Rail Expresses, another sort of train that's going from Oslo to Narvik. So now I got the signal. All clear.
The North Rail Express begins its climb up the steep mountain range that separates Norway from Sweden.
Now we have to try to build up some speed.
The first grade is the steepest, close to 3%. A tough haul with a 1,250-ton load.
It's working hard.
The RC4 electric locomotives provide a maximum of 3,600 kilowatts of power, or 5,000 horsepower, to the 4 traction motors that drive the axles that turn the wheels.
I can actually see in this how the engine's working, 4 engines.
Our train needs max power to pull that load from sea level up to the top of the coastal mountain range.
So I have maximum power on.
But is it enough? On this 3% incline, with gravity working against the locomotive, the 1,250 tons becomes the equivalent of hauling more than 1,600 tons. That's like adding 9 more trailers full of fish.
Just nu nu fick jag till slut fäste, så nu är jag uppe. Nu börjar jag bygga upp lite hastighet igen. The controller was asking us if we were still alive because we're building up speed too slow. But finally, we're getting up some speed.
Rickard is even getting green lights to pass some of the oncoming freights.
So finally we're building up some speed. We are up to 50 kilometers an hour now. 70, that's maximum speed on this part of the track.
Starting at sea level in Narvik, Norway, the train climbs 40 kilometers to the top of the mountain at 523 meters above sea level. Then it's a steep descent and more jaw-dropping climbs to Kiruna in Sweden.
And this ore line that we have driving on now is one of our most difficult routes because of all the snow and the harsh weather up in the mountains. It's pretty risky.
Risky because the closer he gets to the peak, the heavier the winds and snow. The North Rail Express has tackled the riskiest part of its route to Oslo. Through the mountains and made it to the top. The border between Norway and Sweden is just ahead, inside this tunnel.
Now we're passing the Norwegian-Swedish border and are in Sweden at this moment. And now we are on the top of the mountain.
The next stretch will be a steep descent on the way to Kiruna, where the North Rail Express will make its one stop to pick up more fish. And Rickard will end his shift.
I'm taking on the brakes because we're going downhill now.
Gravity may have challenged the train on the way up, but it's about to do it a favor on the way down. Our electric locomotive uses energy from the overhead lines to power the traction motors that turn the wheels. But when going downhill, that process is reversed. The train's downhill momentum turns the wheels, and the traction motors become generators that produce electricity. That electricity then gets fed back into the overhead lines and used by other trains. A power outage caused Rickard to leave Narvik behind schedule.
The consequence of that time loss will be delayed cargo for the trucks waiting.
He's hoping to make up time, confident that this train has been serviced by the best in the business. At this maintenance center in Luleå, Sweden, where skilled professionals ensure the trains are in good working order. Today, they're checking the contact strips, which help conduct current from the overhead lines to the locomotive. Those strips can get damaged when ice and snow build up on the lines, causing arcing and sparks.
Yeah, they're looking on the carbon strips, looking for cracks, look at the thickness, look if the material is wearing out.
Ingen sprickbildning.
The conductors are cleaned and their thickness measured. If the rails are uneven, they're filed down.
Ja, nu tar jag avsyna här, kolla alla gummin så att det är tätt, inga sprickor på slangar.
If they find major cracks, they replace the whole carbon strip to make sure the locomotives never lose power in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. With cracks, the power transmission doesn't work.
The undercarriage of the locomotive also takes quite a beating from rough terrain and winter weather.
Underneath is a lot of ice gets stuck there and affects the brakes, affects the wheels, so we get flats and other damage on the wheels. So we have to get them to lathe.
Severe ice jams in the brakes can prevent the wheels from turning, making them skid along the tracks, creating flat spots on their steel surface. If a flat is found, it's sent to the lathe, where the flat is ground away and the wheel rounded out.
Och det är sånt här man upptäcker vid vinterservice, tillsyn och översyn. Det är till för att man ska upptäcka såna här skador i tid, så man kan åtgärda dem.
And if the surface of the wheel is too damaged, the entire wheel set is taken off and replaced. "60 kilometers to go before Rickard hits Kiruna, where the North Rail Express will pick up 2 more trailers of fish. And where another locomotive engineer will take over, the second of 7 engineers on this journey.
He should be coming in any second now.
Rebecca has been waiting, and now, after a long delay, is finally on her way to the train yard.
I'll be driving down to Boden, and the sun will probably be up way before that, but It should have been here, obviously, 3 hours ago, so.
The 2 additional trailers have already been loaded. Now they're shunted into position, ready for hookup when the train arrives.
When we get to Kiruna, we only have a few minutes to switch drivers and keep on going because we can't lose any more time.
When the North Rail Express pulls to a stop, 3.5 hours behind schedule, it's almost 6 in the morning.
We arrive.
Time to switch engineers.
We have to do the switches. That's because we're only allowed to work several hours because we have to be alert. Det är bara att ta över, det går bra. Jajamensan. Ja, hej då. Because the North Rail Express is just what it says, it's an express line. We switch drivers, so we have to wait and take breaks during the trip, and that will be a long, long journey for the fish.
After a 10-minute stop, the train is on its way. The North Rail Express departs Kiruna with the added weight of 2 more trailers. From here, it should be a straight run to Oslo, its final destination. There's still 1,700 kilometers to go. And another 5 drivers after Rebecca's shift ends. There's no way this train can make up for the delay, even at maximum speed. The fish will arrive late. The trucks, ferries, and flights scheduled to deliver the precious cargo to local and global markets won't wait. The North Rail Express has made it through the most challenging stretch of its 2,000-kilometer trip back to Oslo. As it moves out of the mountains and Arctic wilderness, it picks up speed, trying to gain back some of the lost time. The third of 7 engineers takes her turn at the controls. Shift changes are quick, always less than 10 minutes. At the distribution hub in Oslo, with the train still hours away, manager Göran Gulbrandsen gets a heads up.
The train was delayed from Narvik. The customers are going to be very angry.
Customers from Tokyo to Barcelona who have very low tolerance for tardiness.
We have to inform the customers that it's going to be late, and the drivers have to also get the information that they have to start later to drive, and many problems we have to solve.
Göran's team has to alert the truckers scheduled to drive the fish to airports, ferry docks, and destinations all over Europe.
Everything is connected by the train and the ferry. When the train is coming, we can load the trucks. So when it's 3 hours delayed, that means that we are not reaching the ferry.
He has to work out a whole new distribution plan and schedule before the train arrives. The North Rail Express finally rolls in at 6:30 a.m., 30 hours after it left Narvik 2 nights ago. Now it's go time at Oslo's Alnabru terminal.
The fish is here. We are starting building new load for the trucks to Europe.
The distribution team hustles to minimize the domino effect caused by the delay. Rising to this kind of challenge is what it's all about for Jan Osterheim.
We have lots of problems that are working against us, but if we succeeded with all these challenges, that's my way to a success.
It's a rush to get everything sorted and on its way. The trucks are lined up and ready to go as soon as they're loaded. The distribution team has managed to rebook all flights and ferries.
I want to start new round trips more capacity. It will be one of the biggest export industry from Norway in the future.
In just a few hours, the North Rail Express will be turned around to start its run all over again. It's amazing to think about all of that fish being caught and loaded on the train up in these small, remote, but thriving Arctic communities. That's a big part of the North Rail Express story, because from here, this fish is shipped all over Europe and the world, maybe even to your plate. It truly is a mighty trade.